So welcome. Today we'll have a look at Nuke Compositing software, what it does, and what sort of career you can build around it. Nuke is created by the Foundry, and you can download it for free from their website by clicking Try for Free here. So the Foundry website and Try for Free. On their website, obviously, you also have, so let's go to the website, sorry. So on the website, you also have tutorials, just so you know. So you have a page to learn Nuke. So you could be watching some of those tutorials as well. And also the Foundry has its channel on YouTube. So you can view some befores and afters and see how the software is being used in the industry. So what is compositing? Well, essentially, it's taking different elements shot at different locations, often under different lighting conditions. Some elements can be shot on green screen or blue screen. We can create some CG and combine it with a live action plate or any sort of hand-drawn animation, and basically combining everything together and make it appear to have been shot in one pass in camera. So let's have a look at the Foundry's Nuke showreel and see why the software is so important in the creation of visual effects and what the senior Nuke artists say about Nuke.
Working on VFX without Nuke. I don't think any other software has this impact in the industry. The combination of having very strong native tools and then the possibility to customize it in the way you need it, I think that's something that makes it so unique.
Nuke is ubiquitous to every visual effects studio. All compers either do know how to use Nuke or should know how to use Nuke. When you're close up on Daenerys flying on Drogon's back, and there are particles flying by and wisps of cloud whipping past her, that's all done in Nuke.
It's a core way that we can bring things like smoke, embers, dust, affecting and interacting with the character, creating realism. Developing those composites in a three-dimensional sense is core. And without those three-dimensional tools, it would be vastly more difficult.
I was a supervisor at the time where we picked up Nuke Studio, and it was so nice to just pick up a tool that has all of that. I mean, it has a timeline, it has all the basic features that we needed, and just be able to use that right away. That was amazing. And once you start to expand upon it, it becomes just evident that there is no alternative to it.
Nuke is just a really powerful tool in that you can generate very complicated templates and scripts, and then Nuke has a lot of tools for boiling those down into gizmos, turning those into plugins. So every little unique aspect of the show, we would develop a tool. So the artist didn't have to learn a large set of scripts and templates. It was really a tool set that they could learn and then carry that through the rest of the show. And that's really powerful.
The tools that make the biggest difference are tools like the camera tracker and the model builder. Those types of tools are time saving and they work. And I've seen them attempting to work in other software and not working.
I love how close my software is to the one of my artists. I love that I can jump from Nuke Studio into Nuke at any given moment, give feedback, write up scripts, jump back into Nuke Studio. I don't think any other software could do that for me currently.
Nuke Studio is a massive string to our bow. We can compete with this workflow. We win work because of it, so thank you very much.
Okay, so at Escape Studios, we prepare our students for the career in visual effects compositing using Nuke, and arm them with the key skills that are needed in the industry. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to show you three different showreels from our students.
I'm Florian Girard.
Oh, sorry.
I'm a senior visual effect artist.
Okay, let's close this. Okay, so I'll show you three showreels, just to give you an idea of the type of skills we want our students to develop and help them develop. And later on, you can ask questions. Once we've seen the showreels, we can have a look at Nuke and the interface and have a little look at the type of work we do. So let's see the first showreel. As you can see on the slate, it says Roto Prep Junior Compositor. This is the sort of reel that would demonstrate the key skills needed to enter the industry. So we do prepare our students for that, but for those particular roles, Roto Prep Junior Compositor. So let's see some of these skills. So first of all, we are viewing a demonstration of rotoscoping skill, which means essentially cutting out someone from the background in order to place a person or an object in a different environment. We often need to do this sort of thing in the industry because for whatever reason, the environment has to be changed. Sometimes we want to take just one element from a live action plate and place it into a different environment. Now, that has to be done very accurately. Every little element, you can see these strands of hair here. The little boy was cut out. And we teach how to do that accurately and fairly quickly, although rotoscoping is not a super quick skill. You do have to spend time and, in order to retain every little bit from the original image you want to cut out, right? So all the detail, all the hair detail in this case has to be preserved. And we teach it how to do that with particular techniques. In some of the other showreels, you will be able to see the shapes, how that is created. And obviously I can show you later as well. Another thing, another example on the showreel is, as you can see, tracking markers on the face. We would do that when we wanted to replace an element on the face or add an element to the face. Obviously, we would reposition the tracking markers when we are filming so that we can emulate the movement of the face. But however, those tracking markers have to be cleaned off unless you are replacing the whole face with a mask. You would want to remove those tracking markers. And to do that again precisely and accurately, it's a particular skill that we teach. This sort of cleanup is an essential part of compositing artists' role, because in commercials, films, or television programs, there is always a requirement to clean something because somebody has walked onto the set, or so we have to remove the person, or an element has been left on the set, sometimes a dolly track or simply lights had to be left in and they have to be removed afterwards and so on. So that's what we call prep work, basically preparing the plates for the actual compositing later on. So that is an entry role, roto prep artist. And when creating the showreels, the students want to demonstrate these skills. And here we can see another example of that sort of prep, very accurate prep work where the rig on the body is being removed. And obviously the element, the trousers, all the folds in this plate have to be recreated. So we'll have a look at later on how these things may be attempted in Nuke. Another example of rotoscoping, cutting out a person and a motorbike. So a person and an object, which we call organic. If it's an animal or a person, we would call this organic rotoscoping. And for any object, inorganic rotoscoping. So it's good to have an example of both on the reel. And you can see how we present that sort of work on gray, black and white, and with the overlay, because that gives you a real view of the accuracy of that skill. If everything has been captured and the background essentially removed. Another form of cleanup. This is a 3D cleanup using 3D capabilities in Nuke, essentially projecting onto the geometry in Nuke different textures. These had to be camera tracked. That can be done in Nuke as well. And then different textures, in this case, the doorway and posters placed into the live action plate. Here we have an example of keying, another skill that our students need to demonstrate on their show reels. This is a green screen plate of one of our students, and again, capturing all this hair detail and every little bit. It has to be pixel accurate. Keying and rotoscoping that we teach has to be pixel accurate in order to demonstrate the mastering of the skill and being able to place the element onto a new background. And then a little bit of CG compositing. CG compositing is not an entry role, but here the student is demonstrating the creation of some CG element placed into the live action plate. And all our student show reels start and end with the slates demonstrating the skill or the role that they are applying for, obviously contact details and the software used. And here we can see that on this particular reel, Nuke and Silhouette have been used. Nuke as the main software and Silhouette we use sometime for rotoscoping because it was designed for rotoscoping, so it has few tools that make it a little bit faster to roto a shot. Although not all the facilities have Silhouette, so roto is taught in Nuke as well. So our students have to master rotoscoping in both Nuke and Silhouette. I'll show you another show reel. Let's have a look at this one. These are our students who got jobs in the industry on the back of these show reels. And actually, this year, this year's graduates all got jobs in really top facilities in town, which has been amazing because, they worked remotely last year. As you know, we had lockdown. We are now face-to-face, but last year, because of lockdown, the students had to use VPN to connect to our computers at Escape, and worked remotely and generated an amazing work, really amazing work. So let's have a look at Eva's show reel, because it may be structured in a similar way. I mean, our students always want to demonstrate these core skills. And you will see there is just a little bit of variety of work. because the shots they choose, we have a library of shots they can choose from, but some students use some of the stock footage websites or film some of some of the shots they want to work on, or are involved in working on real productions. So in this case, this was a real production of short commercials, and we do make an effort to try to get real work in, because it gives our students experience in working with the clients and working to the deadlines. I mean, even our, obviously our courses, you're always working to the deadline, but it's quite different when you have a client. This is an example of cleanup, a typical sort of cleanup is that when you are working with mirrors on a shoot, you are very likely to have a cameraman or a member of the crew in a shot. So we would use Nuke to clean this sort of shot up. And this is using 3D projection in Nuke, camera track in Nuke, and obviously paint to remove the cameraman and bring her back on top, because you can see here the breakdown of the cleanup. And you could see briefly the shapes for cutting her out, rotoscoping her. Let's go back and have a look, right? So this is how we do rotoscoping in Nuke or in Silhouette, because having multiple shapes makes it, you're able to move them around much quickly, even though it looks like it's more time consuming, it actually isn't, because you are able to maintain the accuracy on the edge, on the edges of the people or objects you are cutting out. So rather than moving the individual points, the whole shapes are moved around, and it gives you a much faster, more accurate result. Another example of rotoscoping, a very complex shot because of the ribbons, and this was very, very time consuming. You can't do something like this very quickly, but it does demonstrate perseverance and patience, which are very, very important traits to have when you are working in visual effects. And here we have a little CG comp. As you can see, little aeroplane, and then the breakdown of the passes that have been used, different CG passes. You can see the list of them underneath. It tells us we have a beauty pass, a matte alpha or a matte, diffuse, which is a color pass, then specular, which are highlights, shadows, and so on. So we do that in order to have a lot of controls in over CG. In compositing, we do have a lot of control because we have these different passes, so we can decide how reflective an object is. We can change very easily the color because if the client, you know, everything is designed for a particular plate, but the client may decide to change the color, let's say, of the object, and that can be very easily done by a compositor in 2D rather than sending it back into CG. So a lot of control. We can even relight this object to sit it in a scene, and so on. So we, as compositors, we have a lot of control over CG. So that it sits in a photorealistic fashion in the live action plate. That's very important. And here we have an example. This is the actual artist, the student. We do make an effort to film plates at escape We have green screen, blue screen shoots, and we would involve students on these shoots so that we can give them an experience of the whole process, the production process, and they can test the roles, split the roles among themselves, and have this live action experience, what is required in production, because it helps understand the needs of post-production better as well. Now, in this case, we were testing the lighting, different types of lighting on this particular shoot, and filmed the students. So you will see that, you know, when keying, we need to retain all these different strands of hair, all these very fine detail, and we do that using multiple keyers. Actually, I have this script we can have a look at later on. And again, ending with the slate, contact details, and the name of the student. If you have any questions, please ask, you know, in Q&A or leave them for later on. Just one more reel to show, because I think it is beneficial for you to get an overview of the type of work we do at Escape, and obviously what you need to get into. Actually, let me make this full screen. The skills you need to enter the industry. And these students are working in the industry. And as you can see, the show reels are mostly show the finished shot, and then the breakdown of that shot. We find that is a very good way to you know, present your work. Rather than having the finished shots at the beginning and the breakdowns at the end. We tend to prefer having a shot, then the breakdown, making it very clear what has been done. This was actually a team project, because undergraduates work as teams with the animation students. So you and CG students, as a compositor, you work in teams with students studying other parts of visual effects or animation. And here you can see another example of the type of work a compositor would be doing, what we call a matte painting in the background, rebuilding the environment using projections in Nuke. Here, a student says he's responsible for all aspects of the shot, meaning came up with the art direction, directed this particular shot, the live action, and then created the matte painting, integrated everything together, and did all the compositing. So let's have a look at this breakdown. So green screen shoot, keying, creating the environment, obviously tracking, creating the environment in a Nuke's 3D, being able to do these projections. And then here again says responsible for aspects of the shot, meaning he's filmed this live action. This is another student from that particular group. And he's been filmed entering the tube station. Actually, there was a student 10 years ago that created, his name is Tim Adams. You can look up his reel, rotoscoping reel, because he's a really amazing roto artist. And one of his shots was of a person entering the tube with a rucksack at the back. Now, this is a very good example of you know, being able to present organic and inorganic rotoscoping, for example, having a rucksack as inorganic element with all these traps and so on is quite complex, and you know, something that is relatively time consuming. So again, patience and accuracy, very important traits to demonstrate. And you can see he's created a lot of changes in the tube, replacing some of the posters as well. So rather than demonstrating just one skill in a shot, he's demonstrating also the cleanup, the replacement of the posters and so on. Very good. And again, ending up with a slate, you can see that slates were a little bit different from each other, some sort of individuality, a little bit of difference between these different reels. But I think that's given you a sort of overview of the type of work our students need to be prepared. I mean, we said rotoscoping, keying, CG compositing, match moving or tracking using 2D trackers, planar tracker, or match moving the camera, retouching, so 2D and 3D cleanup, color correction, and filters. That's all very important. So I'm just gonna jump into Nuke now. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump. Here we have a script actually from one of our students. And let's have a quick look around. So I'm assuming that, you know, if you've joined this webinar, you may not have, or maybe you have used Nuke a little bit, but not a lot. So I'll just show you around a little bit to give you an idea of bits and pieces. First of all, we have an example of the script. And as you can see, we have a lot of nodes. It's a node-based system, which gives you a lot of flexibility. So essentially, this is a Nuke interface with the viewer on the top. That's how we lay it out. Of course, you can do a different layout, but we don't actually encourage that because if you know, compositing is very much teamwork. So you don't really want to have a completely different layout than everybody else because you may need to pick up a script from somebody else, and vice versa. You want to pass your script around, and somebody else needs to pick it up. They would want to have the same type of interface. So each element that you have in a script, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see this. When you are zoomed out, when I'm zoomed out, you can see the script is looks very organized. This is, as I said, actually one of my ex-students. That's what we teach, to keep the scripts organized. And sorry, I just moved something. Okay, to keep them organized and labeled because you know, it can be quite overwhelming opening something like this, but actually you will see when I zoom in that it's very intuitive. I'm just going to click on something. So the script is sitting down here, and on the right hand side, when you click on a node, any of these nodes, you get its parameters. And all the tools are on the left hand side here. So when you hover over the menu, it actually tells you what sort of tools, anything to do with the image, then drawing, retiming, and so on. And you can see here we have 3D. That's how you would navigate. You can also click on a tab and type in something. Let's say if I type in camera, I can get a camera in. It will load it in. It's placed it here somewhere. Okay, let's see, wherever my cursor was. But so how do we organize scripts? As a compositor, you basically, you are bringing in a lot of different elements. In this particular case, I should show you the actual shot, the result of the shot here at the end. Let's have a look at that. So export result, let's have a look. So we had this sort of plate coming in. And this is actually a second module. So first module in a second year, because first year at Escape, when you are studying visual effects or games or animation, when you were enrolled on one of these courses, you will actually get an overview of different areas. So you may have, even though you want to start compositing, you'll learn, you'll get an insight into animation, games, and all the, well, let's say you want to be a compositor, you would still get an insight into a 3D visual effects as well, so CG creation. Meaning that in the first year you would have one Nuke module, and the other modules will be other parts of the industry. So this effectively is the first module in the second year where the students, visual effects students, haven't yet decided if they want to do, or we give them an opportunity to still change from 3D to 2D or 2D to 3D. So this first module is for all visual effects students have to create a CG element and then comp it into live action shot. They also need to do a cleanup on the live action shot, 2D and 3D cleanup. So this is part of that module. So at the top of the script, so first of all, as I said, this was the original plate. If I just show you a plate, sorry, let's just plate. So this was the original plate, and you can see there is a camera move that we have to emulate. So I can show you that in a minute, how that would work. And when that is done, in this case, let's see this final comp. So if I was to compare between the original, let me just load it into one and this into two. So this was the original and this is the comp. So the boat has been replaced. You can see that some other CG elements have been dropped in, like this tire and some other bits and pieces. The sky was replaced to give it a different atmosphere to the shot. And then some of the elements in the background have been removed, you can see. So we could be using, you know, for those elements, you could even be using a 2D tracker to remove them. But I'll show you briefly how that could be done. So when I talked about organizing the script, let's move to the top of the script and have a look at that. So as a compositor, you know, in this case, you would want to bring all the elements in, and here they're organized. I can tell you that this camera, even though we can match move this in Nuke, has been created in 3D Equalizer, which has undistorted the plate and has been used, the camera has been used to create this moving CG element of the boat. So I'll just show you. This is essentially a render from Maya of a CG boat that has come out, as I mentioned earlier, with different passes. This is so that we can control the shininess of, here we have specular, so we can control the highlights on this particular object. We have diffuse pass, direct and indirect, meaning atmospheric lighting, direct meaning direct lighting, and indirect lighting, atmospheric lighting, so that we have a really good control of when combining this or placing that element into a live action shot. These passes would give us control over that. I'm just going to move along to show what other elements we have. And then, of course, we have the original background plate from which the boat has been cleaned. So how would we approach something like this? As I said, we could actually camera track this in Nuke as well. So I'll just move along because I actually prepped a little bit on it here on the side for us to have a look and to have a look at renders as well. I have some sort of additional passes here. As you can see, this is what we call an ID pass, meaning it is a pass of different mats for the different elements, so that we have a actual mat for the boat that will enable us, if we want to do any treatment on a boat, like color correction, we can separate that boat and do that. And you can see some sort of wood elements here. Again, mats for all the different objects so that we can have some sort of control over them separately. Some sort of separate control over them. I just wanted to show you quickly that in Nuke, we also have a camera. In this case, I have actually tracked this shot myself here. You can see this is, we have camera tracker in this 3D menu. Here we have camera tracker. When we load this scene, it will essentially track all the different elements in a shot. We have a lot of control over that in settings. We can actually set the number of features. I tend to go for 300 first of all. So it will try to find 300 features in this shot to track. The default is 150, but I find that 300 is actually a little bit better default. Once it's done that, of course, these things don't happen instantly. So that's why I prepared this in advance, because otherwise we would need a webinar to last much, much longer. But essentially, once it's tracked and it's just sort of standard setting, adjusting just few settings, we can track the shot, solve it, and then export the camera. So here you can see the actual camera in 3D space. So you can see I can actually view the scene through that particular camera, choose the camera, and I'm viewing the actual scene through it. So amazing features. And I tell you why it's amazing, because once you have a camera and you are quite independent as a Nuke artist, in this case, of course, the students were tracking in 3D Equalizer and exporting that camera, so you can import the camera from Maya or another, any other software, but you can also create your own camera track in Nuke, which enables you to move on and use it to do certain things. In this case, I will just move down to show you what I've done a little bit lower down. So once you have a camera move, you can drop in a card, just an ordinary card, which I have done, and I've dropped it into the scene. You can see if I zoom in, you can see that camera. So just a second, let me zoom in. Okay, so you can see if I move around, I now have a card on the floor, and I placed it on the floor because I would like to do some cleanup on that floor, remove something from the floor, which means that I can project onto that card with a camera that emulates the move, that is matching the camera in the live action plate. So that's very exciting. So let's have a look at that. So once the card is positioned, I can actually project. And let me show you what I've done here. So I have chosen frame 157 on the shot to do a little cleanup. So let's have a look at that briefly. Okay, so this is the plate, frame 157. I've added a Roto-Paint node, basically from one of these menus from the tool containers on the left-hand side. So Roto-Paint, I can attach it to the plate and use, let's say, cloning on it, zoom in, and start retouching. So I can just copy the texture. Just a second. I can just copy the texture from the other part of the plate and paint over, as you can see, to remove this object, which I've done. So you don't need to wait for the result. I've done that on this frame. This is just for demonstration. At the moment, you can see there is some repetition here. The way I painted this, of course, we would want to avoid that and do it a little bit more carefully. So once I've painted one frame, I can use that bit of the painted frame to actually project it back onto the card and onto the plate. So I'm using Project 3D to project it onto this card. Let's just move around and have a look. So if I zoom in, you can see I am projecting there. And let's have a look at the result of that. Obviously, when you are projecting any sort of cleaned up element like this, you would want to add, we add grain to it. And of course, we would want to match any defocus we have in a shot and so on. So that's very important. But you can see that if I compare this to the original, I've effectively cleaned this element, removed this element from the plate. So if I play this and all that, let's play it. All that is done in Nuke because we have all the tools in Nuke to do something like this. And this is it on the move. So as I said, we would want to be a little bit more accurate. I can see there is little pattern on it now, but it was really just to show the sort of workload, the sort of thing we can do. Of course, when you are adding nodes in the script, there is no, you don't need to work, you work in a non-linear fashion. So let's say if I wanted to change the color of this patch, for whatever reason, I could just, go in, go back to that patch and add, let's say, a color correct node or a grade node to change the color on it. So let's say I'm gonna make it red. Just move these two sliders, and you can see now we have. Sometimes we do that anyway, just to check the track or how an element is moving. I can't believe it's already 6:17. Okay, so let's just have, so if you have any questions, please, you can use Q&A to ask anything. Let's just have a quick look then on quick look at another script. Let's see. Well, that is the script for keying of, we've seen this on a showreel, right? I use this as one of the template scripts for the students using multiple keyers and what we call additive keyer to actually separate her from the background, from the green screen. That's another little workflow I can just show you. So when we have green screen like this with the tracking markers at the back, the first thing we do is we try to clean it. Then we use multiple keyers to separate the foreground from the background because Nuke has a number of keyers we can use, and a very sophisticated one is IBK Gizmo to get a very fine detail. That's what we use, which creates a clean plate from the original green screen plate. It actually creates clean plate, which we could actually film on the shoot, but sometimes clients don't have time to do that, or they are not able to do it for whatever reason. So IBK Keyer has been designed to deal with this in these situations, and it can create a clean screen out of the original plate. This, clean screen meaning it will match the original plate and green screen and separate, use it to separate the foreground from the background. So as I already said, we do tend to use multiple keyers to do that. We use IBK for very fine detail, and then combine it with multiple keyers to basically achieve a perfect key. Other keyers are Primat and Keylight, which we often use for getting the core key or the inside of the key, because in order to have a very nice edges, very nice edge, or retain the fine detail, which you can see from IBK here, we are getting all the very fine detail here, but we have some holes in the center of the key, and that's why we use some other keyers to fill in these holes and create a perfect key. Rather than making adjustments on the main keyer, which could harden some of this very fine detail, we prefer to work in this way, and that is how the industry likes to work as well. The way we teach, all different skills and processes is following the industry guidelines, and so that the artists, when entering the industry, are using the same techniques as are used in the industry, and are able to then pick up other people's scripts and pass their own scripts and be able to fit into those themes seamlessly. Okay, so Another example of the script before questions, any questions, answering any questions you may have. Again, as you can see, very nicely laid out script, very neat. Everything is labeled, all the different sections. Again, this script was also part of that module where we are doing cleanup and CG comp in a shot. So let's have a quick look at this plane. This is a little bit slow because it has a lot of Roto-Paint nodes in here, a lot of painting, but you can see this is the original shot with all these dustbins. It's a nice shot in Shepherd's Bush in London, and we like to use this. This is one of our tutors has filmed a lot of plates. Dan Schatt has filmed a lot of plates for our students to use. This is a great plate because you can see it's an interesting camera move and plenty of things you can replace, clean, add new elements, and so on. Okay, so let's see the final result. Try to see final result here. Oh, it's not reading. It's okay. Sorry about that. Just a second. What I actually wanted to show was this interesting cleanup. Just a second. So again, here, if I zoom in, you can see everything is labeled. It says what has been removed and added and so on. Let's see. So different parts of the plate, being treated. Okay, well, I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into Nuke. You know, it's such state-of-the-art software. It is and pretty complex. So it's not easy to show all its features, but I hope it has given you an idea of the sort of things you can do, and seeing those showreels from the students. You know, if you have any questions, if you think of any questions at a later stage, you can always contact us, and we are very happy to talk to people who are interested in compositing, or you know, if you need any advice, any direction to different tutorials you could use, please get in touch. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.